Welcome back to the Circuit Revival, where today we're going to take a look at a Nintendo Switch. So I've done a couple of lights on the channel so far, but I'm yet to actually take a look at a Nintendo Switch, just one of the standard ones. I don't know if this is a V1 or a V2. I don't know quite how to work that out. I imagine it's something to do with the serial number. If we take a look at it, it looks all right. There's a slight bend to it, but nothing too major. It said it's a no power, and I imagine, like with most of these, it's going to be probably a charger port issue, but no game or memory card in here. But it's actually in really decent condition. So we take a look at the rails, they're all good. The bottom's pretty good. The screen looks scratched up, but there's a screen protector on here, which you can kind of see by the lifted bit. So I wonder whether this will look sort of pristine by the time it comes apart. And it still has the kickstand, which from what I understand is sort of unheard of in the world of Nintendo Switches. I'm slightly concerned by the slight bend there, but we'll see. So we'll start off with, as always, we'll just double check the charger port to make sure that it's not going to short anything else out. So we'll just go over to that. And then if we do this, we can come in. So the screws themselves look good as well. They don't look like anyone's been in here, so that's a good start. And then we can look at the charger port. Okay, cool. So this top side here looks okay, but if we look at the bottom side, there's sort of a pin here and this pin here that both look like they've definitely shorted out against something else. So I'd be honest, that probably would actually fix it just doing that, but I don't trust it not just to move or break when we do something else. Actually, no, I lied. There's a pin pushed all the way down to the bottom there. So we will get this out of the chassis and I'll jump back in once I'm in, because this is going to require me to try and work out how to actually get into one of these, because like I said, I've never been into an actual Switch before, only the Switch Lite. I would hope that they're fairly similar, but what I'm going to do to begin with is I'm just going to follow a guide so that I don't end up undoing any screws I don't need to or missing any screws that I do need to do. So I will jump back in once this is all apart. Okay, so that is certainly a whole lot more involved than the Switch Lite. It's kind of mad how much more is involved in getting that out. But we're out of the chassis, so we have here the board. And we'll just take a closer look at this port again. Yeah, so you can see a lot clearer there how sort of like mangled that port is. So we'll do this exactly the same way as we would do the Switch Lite. So these ones are slightly different to the Switch Lite ports. They're slightly longer, so you can't use them interchangeably, unfortunately. But you'll have to use one or the other. But we can just have a look at this and see that that is exactly the same as the port that's there. So we'll start by preparing our port. So to do this, we just want to tin up the pins on this port. This will help it attach a bit easier. So if we go to the microscope, here's our port. We'll just get some solder on our iron, and then I'll just apply some flux to this. Don't want loads, but hopefully just a little bit. And we'll just run the iron across these pins. And there we go, that's nicely tinned. We'll just go to this bridge here. And then we'll do exactly the same process as we have done with the Switch Lite in the past. We will lift this up, we'll hang it over the edge of the table, we'll heat it up from underneath, and then we'll lift the port out and we'll replace it with a new one. So here we are above the port. So I'll just bring my hot air in and I'm just going to come in from underneath, heat it up. Once the port is hot enough, we should see it go so like molten. I'll be able to lift it out. I'll then come in, tin the pads with leaded solder to make it easy to get the new one on, and then we'll get the new port on. So here we go. Okay, so that was fairly clean there. So we'll just come in with some leaded solder, and this will help reduce the melting point of the solder that's on the board. Should hopefully mean that it'll be a touch easier to get the new port on. Okay, so I have my new port ready. We'll come in with the hot air. We'll do exactly the same again. So whilst the board is still warm, I'm going to come in with a cotton bud, and I'm just going to try and remove some of this flux. So you don't want to flood this with IPA too soon, because it'll go through thermal shock. So at this point, I'm just trying to come in and just lightly get off anything that's on the surface. Cool down, but whilst it's cooling down, we'll just double check the pins to make sure that the ones on the top here are all good. So it's hard with these because there's pins on the top and bottom row. So it's hard to know if you've got them exactly right. Now, looking at that, I don't think it's possibly quite gone through the board correctly. So I don't think this is quite right. I think it's possibly sitting a bit proud, but let's just double check. Okay, actually all of those top pins there are all good. So maybe these ports do just sit slightly different. So I suppose if you look at the mounting holes there, it is flat against the board. I was just looking at these little black plastic bits underneath there. So maybe all good. And if we lift this up and take a look inside the port, you can see sort of how different that looks. You can see flat down to the bottom, there's no pins poking out, versus the old one there where you can see that pin all the way down the bottom, plus goodness knows what gunk in there. It's a bit bent because clearly I melted the port when removing it, but that's not really a problem because it was coming off anyway, so that's why it's not quite level. But hopefully this will cool down enough that we can get this tested. Cool down, I think that's sort of cooled down enough. So what we should be able to do now is use our ammeter to work out whether we've been successful or not. Because what this should do, if it's all good, is when we plug it in, it should jump up and then come back down, which would sort of simulate an actual boot, but it's not going to do that because obviously it's not connected to anything. So we can try that now by plugging this in. We go in, we've got 15 volts up to 400. Okay, that's sort of staying around there. That doesn't seem right. And the other way? 400, and then just idling there. So I'm fairly certain it's supposed to go up and then come back down, but that might be because something's missing off the board or I've done something wrong. But I'll let it cool down just a little bit longer, and then I'll try it again once it's a bit cooler. So that's all plugged in. We'll get our charger again, and let's see what this does with everything plugged in. 15 volts, 400, that's a normal charge. What we're sort of hoping to see, I suppose, is that jump up, but sort of seems all over the place. It's going up, down, up, down, up, down, which doesn't quite seem right to me, like it's something's causing a problem. We'll try this the other way. Doing exactly the same thing. We'll see from the thermal camera whether anything is getting warm, because it's trying to do something but then just drops straight down each time. Okay, so we have the thermal camera and got some heat there, some heat here, which I think we can have a look at the other side of the board, see what that is. Because that looks like it's possibly on the other side of the board. It's just a bit concerning it's near the NAND. But then there's a lot of heat here, which I'm not sure if that's normal or not. But okay, we'll get this back out and we'll have a look. And again, we'll get the thermal camera plugged back in and see whether it does anything without the battery attached. Okay, so there's the board. We'll get our charger, plug it in. Nothing on that side. But we do have, I believe this is the Max IC. Okay, that looks like it's just booted. So you can see it's gone down and it's sort of flashing. That would be, in my eyes, simulating a normal boot. Let's unplug that, turn it around. So that there is a normal boot. That has just booted. So what stopped that from booting? Okay, so I think it's back together again, enough to test, but I've not got the battery plugged in this time. So let's see what happens if we do it again. See, it's stuck doing that thing, so it's almost as if there's something it doesn't like on this. I'm wondering whether maybe this is stuck in RCM mode. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to plug it into the computer and see if it registers to the computer. No, so it's not registering it on the computer, which means it's not stuck in RCM mode. Okay, so I was just looking around the board to see if I can work out what's going on, and as I was probing around, I got to the M92 chip here, and I've just checked continuity on the CPU cap, and the CPU cap on this is gone, so I think that's the reason why it's doing the things it is, which basically means that this is it's a bit game over really, which is a bit of a shame. So I need to work out whether it's actually the charger system here that I've got that's blowing this, or whether this was gone from the get-go. But either way, sadly that makes this a no fix, so we change this to 924. Hopefully we have a bit more success in the next one. But either way, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.